back for Men 101 here with, again, Nick Bass, good friend, Tony D'Amico, and guys, the ominous, amazing Dark Friday, eh? Eh?
I feel like it's the whole thing.
Yeah, but it's just like, you just make us
AKA
like, you just makes everything connect here. It's just amazing.
Glue on glue.
Glue on.
Chocolate glue.
So how you guys been? Everything good?
Good.
Great,
Good,
yeah.
Good. So today's topic is men's mental health, depression, psychosis, and those who suffer in the marginalized communities.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting topic. Great speaker on today, Dr. Alan Duggan from the Peel region, and a member of MACA. Musical guest is Derek Falls. And a good friend of mine's in today to cook, Peter Sabapathy. See what he's put on the stove for us, a little chomp later on.
What are we eating?
I believe it's a Sri Lankan curry.
Nice.
Tasty. But I'm sure, Nick, you being a vegetarian, you're going to have to like pass because it's chicken.
I'll have yours.
You'll have it. Yeah, Tony's always looking to take it anyway.
Eat the rice, maybe.
Eat the rice.
There we go.
The rice.
So, guys, what do you know about men's depression and mental health?
It's surprisingly maybe more than
The
I
regular
thought I
person?
did know. Yeah. Because it's more prevalent, I think, than as a society we like to think, especially I think in the male community.
Yeah.
So you can you repeat that? So you think men have more depression? Is it?
No, I don't think that they have more.
More men are
I think that there are more than we think.
okay.
for
Okay.
sure.
So
In
more
our
than statistics,
society.
right?
Absolutely. Like I feel like there's a lot more men aren't vocal about vulnerabilities.
Right.
So this goes back again to Dr. Mars,
Right.
is the nurture where men don't.
Hide their feelings.
Right.
And own
Yeah.
You got to
And
show
they
that
want
they're
to-
always in control.
right.
Yeah, and then now it's trying to find places for men to go talk and open up and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's other ways of being depression, like maybe, would it be something to do with your family, genetically? Would that be a...
I've heard stories about that. That's from generation to generation, and they're okay, and then all of a sudden they fall into this really hard depression. And I have some family members that fell into that, and it didn't end up nice. So, and it wasn't just one family member; it was like the brother too, and the father. So it can be a chain. It just keeps on going.
Yeah, it can come from work, love life.
You know what? You just hit the nail on the head for me, because I just realized I do have some. I know people who they not so much depression, but you see there's signs of some form of mental illness, and it's not just one person in the family. More.
Several.
Yeah.
My mother used to have a great quote. She'd say, "There's nothing mentally wrong with you at all. Get out in the garden and dig some holes, you'll be okay." So it's like keeping the
mind occupied,
keeping the mind occupied.
exactly.
It's a growing topic in society for men. It's back to that thing where we don't know if we're able to go somewhere or chat to somebody, or we
Support
don't want
groups.
like do you the way I would see it is, it seems like you go in and you seem depressed, and they just dump a bunch of drugs into your system, like.
Yeah.
Everything's solved with a pill, right? Nowadays.
Listen, you know what? I had a good friend and financial advisor, great guy, and he just couldn't figure out. He was depressed, and but he had a great job, great lifestyle, everything, but just not happy.
Right.
And then he got prescribed some medication or whatever, and he lost that sparkle in his eyes.
Yes.
Like he was like a robot. It's just going through the day with no real emotion. Like the life looked like it had been taken out of his eyes. And I'd been staying with him and looking after him for a while. But he wasn't like some people are in the closet, but he would like go into his room and eat in his room and stuff like that. But he didn't look, I don't know what the stigma for depression really looks like, but he was depressed. And I was talking to him one day, and I said, listen, maybe you should try and wean yourself off the medication. I'm not saying do it or don't do it, but like you're like basically like a zombie walking around. There's no life to the guy that I used to know.
Maybe they gave him too much.
Well, I mean, it's whether they gave him too much or he began to wean himself off, and he came down to the kitchen one morning, and I go, the sparkle was back in his eyes. I go, I looked at him and go, something's different. He goes, yeah, I stopped taking the drugs, man. And he started to move back, and he started to go back to work more often. He started like, maybe it helps you for a while to get to a certain place.
I really think there's a few. I feel like the cases are individual. When you think about the brain being electric, because it really is a response to electrical currents and whatnot, from what I understand about a lot of the drugs that are out there, is it alters the state of the brain in order to charge up that part that's not functioning, that's keeping you in that dark space. That said, the side effects are it alters your personality. So I do know someone who has been there and felt lost in it and slowly came out of it. Now for her, it actually ended up being a combination of physical exercise and diet that really helped her to kind of come out of this fog. Though I don't know, and we can ask Dr. Dion when she comes on, I don't know that that's the case for everyone who's a depression patient. And also I think there's varying degrees of depression, right? There are varying degrees. And I also think, don't we all go through some sort of period of depression
Well,
in
it's
life?
like everything you're born with. Like
Right.
you can be a lover, a hater, or a racist. It's all in it to be something like that. Now, how far do you let yourself fall into that place where you're depressed and you're walking around and you're not integrating back into society and you can't come in? Like you said, physical fitness and diet. So that's basically if you're not doing hard labor or hard work, physical fitness is a type of a hard work. So your brain is more active. So it's probably giving off more endorphins and stuff like that. For you
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
So
But it's funny because we spend a lot of time focusing on the physical fitness, and we got to be physically fit, and we've got to work on this and that. But what it really kind of all comes back to is that inner being, your soul. And so what
happiness
about,
comes from within.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really about nourishing that that inner being,
that
your soul, that
positive
part,
energy
exactly,
type
that
thing that you
spirit
can-
that's in all of us. You
Right.
have to be able to work that out too. Oh, as well as moving your body, being physically active, as well as eating well. And by eating well, I'm not talking about salads and grains for every meal. I'm talking about eating whole and eating what works for you and your
Yes.
body, and yada yada. Not necessarily listening to everything that's out there.
like again, you're physically active, whatever it may be, walking, running, just anything physical, and your brain's being occupied, and you're not going to a room and just sitting in your thoughts or wondering what's next. So that's the type of thing. But I'm going to get to you now, Derek. I know you're down to say something, but we're going to come right back after the break. So we'll look forward to seeing Dr. Duncan. See you in a moment. And we're back here with Dr. Dion Duncan. Welcome to the show, Dr. Duncan.
Thank you.
You met my panel of handsome men here, right?
I have.
Tony and Nick.
Equally all as handsome.
There you go. So, Dr. Duncan is a resident of the Peel region, current manager at MACA, a charitable non-profit. She currently sits on 7 boards across Ontario, impressive, and support several non-profits as an advisory council member. She's a graduate in health policy and informatics, and has a deep understanding and education in the area of depression, psychosis, and the marginalised. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
So, give us some information about men's depression and mental health.
Absolutely. So the focus, I think, when it comes to mental health and depression is really identifying that the problem is a cross-platform issue. It's not necessarily how many men are suffering or how many women are suffering. It's really how many people are suffering. Okay? I heard the first part of your show, and I loved the way each and every one of you answered. So many questions are thrown at me on a daily basis. Is it genetic? How does it happen? How does it increase? When does it stop? Does medication work? Are there holistic ways of dealing with depression? And I'm hoping today that I'll be able to give you some of those answers.
I want to touch on that holistic thing. Are there holistic ways? I'm all about holistic medicine in general. I mean, I was lucky enough to have that presented to me growing up, and I'm a huge believer. What do you think holistically can be done for depression, and is it an individual basis?
I think from a respect factor, I love the fact that not only are you a fitness enthusiast, but you're also someone who understands the body because you understand the art of the body and how it's made up. Everyone is different. I believe that it's important to have not only a holistic approach to life and life management and wellness, but subsequently there are several individuals whose bodies differ and have different levels of a chemical imbalance, and we must introduce some factor of medicine and or some pharmaceutical factor mixed with a holistic way of living. So I think that there's no wrong or right, but I think that it's important to adopt a practice of medication and subsequently also look at a lifestyle change if an individual needs it.
So ultimately, it comes down to balance.
Absolutely.
Balance,
Absolutely.
Balance. Are you talking about balance between holistic and pharmaceutical?
Yeah,
or?
absolutely. Yeah.
So there's no holistic, like there would be for sleeping. Melatonin's a holistic, or isn't it? Isn't it melatonin helps you sleep? It's a holistic thing. You know, it's not a sleeping pill per se, but it helps you relax and sleep. So there's no holistic medication at the time to help some type of depression or mental illness right now.
Completely no, Alan. There are different things that you can use within your daily diet. A melatonin can relax you. A dandelion tea can actually slow the body down and bring you into a medium state. But there is nothing that they have that can completely remove the element of depression. Every brain is individual, every body is individual. So you really would have to identify the level of psychosis that individual has, identify that level of depression, and it's a work in progress. Finding out exactly what works for you may not work for someone else. But to say that there is a holistic spirit or fraction that works for everyone, no, there is nothing out there.
So is depression caused by a chemical imbalance, or is it something that's triggered in your life? A breakup, a loss of a loved one?
An excellent question. So there are different levels of depression. There are different levels of psychosis that can be brought on for different reasons. Some people are genetically predisposed to depression. I think that you talked about it earlier on, knowing family members that had multiple cases of mental deficiencies. People can actually sort of move into the element of depression due to a spark that happens in life, a death in a family, a divorce, an end of a relationship, a loss of a job. And it's about identifying what stage you're in and being able to actually say, okay, I'm depressed or I need help. And that's where, from a male versus female aspect, men do less of it. They do less of identifying that something could be going on. They do less identifying when it comes to even being diagnosed with a chemical imbalance. The first response is generally, can't be me, not me. And or the second reaction is, I have a family or I have a characteristic that I need to uphold, so I can't let this bring me down. The denial aspect can actually increase that level of psychosis and subsequently take you into an even deeper depression. So to answer your question specifically, several things can bring on levels of depression. You can also be genetically predisposed, but subsequently the aspect of solving the issue is identifying that something's wrong.
Identifying the issue.
Right.
And can you fall out of your depression by talking to a friend, by talking to someone, even a psychologist, without actually being medicated?
Absolutely. I'm pro-therapy, and it's just as I was saying to Derek earlier on, it's about a mixed approach. It's about finding the equation that works for you. I am for psychosomatic therapy. I'm for a psychiatrist, a counselor, talking to family, talking to friends. All of those things can help bring you out of your state of sadness or your state of silence. Generally, it grows and expands when you tell no one, or when an individual doesn't know what's really going on with you. But the more you talk about it, and the more you're able to talk to someone about it, you'll find out that perhaps they went through it as well. Or maybe they have a solution as to what you can use to help bring you out of that state of sadness.
Right.
So
Are there any
completely agree.
triggers that men can realize or notice that that might be leading to depression? Like, I know we don't talk about a lot of stuff and we keep our feelings and stuff there. Is there anything that we can really pick up on that you start to realize that there's something going wrong?
Absolutely. There are several different symptoms that actually come with depression or follow depression. Staying up all night long, being unable to sleep, loss of appetite, or increase of appetite. There's also individuals who choose different barbiturates, or who choose a substance, or they choose a vice, and they do it in excess. In other aspects, there are individuals who stop eating, or there are individuals who over-exercise. So I know that we touched on it earlier on a little bit, but you were very right when you said, yes, fitness and increased movement helps with endorphins, but there are also those who are depressed and who over-exercise and do things in excess, thinking that they would help to increase those endorphins and produce happiness. But what it does is it exhausts them. So there are different ways of identifying these symptoms.
Like an alcoholic.
Right.
Usually they're alcoholics because they're depressed.
Right.
They're just drinking because they don't want to.
Masking something else that's going on.
I mean, I have a friend of mine that he's got more than one mental illness. Like, I mean, up to now, I think he.
Hold that thought, Tony, because we'll be right back with Dr. Duncan after the break. And we're back here with Dr. Duncan. So you were saying there, what was it? You were saying something, Tony,
I
about
was just saying that I have a friend of mine that he's got more than one mental illness. He's, up to now, he knows of three.
3 mental illnesses at the one time.
Yeah, at the one time, and he's on 3 different meds. I mean, at the same time, you don't know what's going to happen when you
So
take all
what
3. But
type of?
well, one of them I don't know the name of it there, but he's bipolar and he's got depression, and basically he's had a hard life, but he can't be alone. He always has to have a woman in his life, and he can never fix himself up properly due to the fact that
Right.
he's always needs that loving mother thing from a woman.
Right.
But if you can't be by yourself, you'll never be able to really, absorb another person's love.
Right.
And he's had a hard time. He's trying to clean himself up. He's finished all the hard drugs that he was on. So he's cleaning himself up slowly, one at a time. He can't do all 3 in one shot.
Right.
There, but he's working hard.
So, in your opinion, Dr. Duncan,
Right.
did that hard life lead him to substance abuse, ergo lead him to depression, or do you think it was like you said before, predisposed, or in your opinion, does that hard life and your problems or traumatic experience lead to straight to depression, or via substance abuse to depression, or do you think it is always predisposed?
Excellent question. I think it's a mix. I think it depends on what your equation is. I don't have this particular client or patient in front of me, so it's hard for me to decipher what his situation is. But what I can tell you is, with barbiturate abuse, with the abuse of drugs or alcohol, you are taken to a high, and then you drop down to a low when it's over. And if you go through years of high, low, and then you plateau out, your body as a chemical device is craving something, is wanting something. So you are stating that he always needs something next to him. Maybe what he needed in the past was a substance, and now what he needs is companionship. It's because the brain as a chemical device is craving and wanting something. What I think he needs to do is adopt the practice of identification. Identify what it is you need and why you need it, right? Then it's about changing lifestyle. It's also about talking to someone, referencing why you have that void in your life,
Right. And these are all things that he's started to do.
Absolutely. And even though there are several people, to answer your question, who are against medication, there are individuals who need it. So I want to be respectful to all of the physicians out there and the general practitioners. medication is there for the use of individuals who truly require it to live an appropriate life and to live a balanced life. The brain is an incredibly interesting and intricate body part. And, you know, if we don't control those levels, we can kind of be pushed into a state of paralysis.
Do you find that maybe sometimes some patients will actually take advantage that they know they have these certain situations, issues, and you know, if they do something wrong and they're with their girlfriend at that time and they say, well, you know, I'm bipolar, I'm sorry, you know what I mean? But really, you know, you still can control a certain percentage of it, you know? And I just find that sometimes they fall back and they just blame on their illness, and you can't do that.
But it seems more now that a lot of people seem to have the bipolar thing, and or you have a split personality.
Well, it's really interesting that you say that. I don't think it's more people. I can answer that question for you strategically. I think that we are now more accustomed with social media and with more forums such as yours today on Men 101, where people are able to come to a state where they're able to talk about their issues. This didn't happen 30 years ago.
Right.
45 years ago, men weren't talking about how depressed they were. They were just talking about what they needed to do for their families or what they needed to do to maintain lifestyle. Now we're in a position where we're identifying depression in young children. We're identifying bipolar and chemical imbalance in adolescents and young people, right? And we're doing it because there are forums out there where people are feeling now more comfortable coming forward saying, something is ailing me, I'm feeling pain, I'm sad, I'm depressed, help me.
So do you think this is something that's overdiagnosed?
That is a controversial question. I believe that in North America, there's not an overdiagnosis, but I believe that there is there's an underwhelming amount of men in particular who don't bring their problems
To the table.
to the table.
So that builds up.
So that builds up and builds up, and it manifests
Right.
itself in different ways. Alcohol abuse, substance abuse, overeating, you know, manic behavior. If you look into that individual that, you know, could have potentially been diagnosed with a chemical imbalance in their 20s, if you look into them, it's probably something like something was missing in their life. Didn't grow up with a dad, didn't
Right.
grow up with a mom, didn't have friends, was bullied. There are different ways of looking at the element of depression.
It's funny, I was reading, I skimmed through a handbook, MDSC, Mood Disorders Society of Canada, and it says, there's approximately 4,000 suicides yearly in Canada. And suicides account for 24% of all deaths among Canadians aged between 15 and 24.
Wow.
That's a staggering amount.
It's intense.
Well, I'm sad to hear about the suicide statistic, and it's been in the news quite a bit lately, particularly when dealing with those coming from the marginalized sector. But if we think of what helps to perpetuate those statistics, it's those individuals who don't feel comfortable talking about what's wrong.
Right.
I think that our teachers are doing a great job and our counselors are doing a great job, but we can't put the vested interest of our children and of our adolescents completely on their shoulders. You have to be able to go to different people in your family or go to your friends or your peer groups and tell them what's going on. And the more silent we are, the increase of potential suicides and full-blazed suicides will happen.
Right.
And it really has to do with what's going on with the individual on the inside.
So are there any groups where men can find support for depression or in Toronto area, Peel region area?
Absolutely, there are several groups. I'm personally the GM at MACA in Markham, and we service and support a series of men throughout the Ontario region and parts abroad, where we have groups that allow them to come together, talk about their problems, either being a single father or stresses at work, stresses within a relationship. There are also different male-based groups where you can kind of come together and really have a level of camaraderie where you're talking about what you can do to help these feelings. It's about having a level of comfort and knowing that you're in a safe place to talk about someone. The last thing I'm going to say about that, Alan, is use your friends, use your family.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to push the envelope and let people know how you're feeling. You'd be surprised how many people are feeling that way themselves.
Very true.
Amazing, Dr. Duncan, eh, guys? It's, like, it's such a tough topic to talk about, and we're all men sitting here, and we all have to find our way. But we'll be right back after the break with Dr. Duncan. See you then. Back here with Dr. Duncan. You know, I was just thinking there at the break, mental illness and depression. How would that relate to being an athlete, like a boxer or a football player, or somebody that has traumatic compact or force on the brain? Like, so,
Right.
like I wouldn't think as much a soccer player would get that. I could be wrong.
Right.
But it seems like a boxer and a football player.
You mean with concussions?
Concussion stuff. Would that could that lead into that? Would be a
Good question.
yeah.
It's an excellent question, and there's been a lot of controversy around that element of concussion or banging of the brain and what it does. And again, we're looking at literally such a small cavity, right? And it's surrounded by liquid. And that liquid actually helps us wake up and function and walk. And multiple hits to the brain can actually change those levels and actually create different levels that actually affect our overall being. So of course, when it comes to experiencing concussions in the NFL or the NHL with hockey or different sports or even boxing, we have to watch how many times we're actually impacting the brain. And of course, it can absolutely change your overall state. There are several individuals who, from a professional sporting perspective, have experienced multiple concussions and subsequently found themselves 5 or 10 years later in deep depression. It doesn't just come about because they've taken off the athletic equipment. It has to do with that chemical.
Yeah, it's like just, you know, it brings me back to thinking about Michael Landsberg had a program one time on TSN about depression and stuff, like, how he was depressed or whatever. And then I'm starting to remember other athletes, like a lot of hockey players were coming out and committing suicide because they couldn't handle what was going from the concussions and from the fights and stuff like that they were getting involved in. So do we need to look at our contact sports now? Or do we need to look at the UFC now? It's a 6-ounce gloves, a lot of compact, and then the knee is harder than the fist.
Right.
You know, I know the head's the hardest part of the body, but you're looking at these guys, and like it's going to be a matter of time now we start seeing UFC fighters having concussions and depressions and starting to realize, you know, why did I do this sport? Because it's vicious. Not that we don't enjoy it. I'm not saying, you know, we all love a good contact sport from the guys sitting in the panel here, but
I think that's also from prolonged injuries, one after the other. It could be the same one or different ones. They get addicted to painkillers, to whatnot. That affects the brain also.
Absolutely.
It's not, you know what I mean? That leads to depression, and subsequently there have been like cases where a lot of athletes or retired athletes have committed suicide.
Absolutely.
I need to say something to that, because I feel like a lot of the times with that, first of all, I'm not sure what the statistic is between male and female athletes committing suicide post-career due to head traumas. But I feel like a lot of the reason why men are led towards the suicide route is, again, back to that whole, I'm a man, I need to still appear as a man.
Deal with myself.
And I can't express what's happening to me physically and emotionally, which I feel is happening all the time. Which kind of leads me to my next question, which is kind of an opinion, but I want to see what you think about this.
Okay.
Because depression, we're seeing it across the board from children all the way to old age, but children. I feel like a lot of times depression comes on from outside sources, so people bullying and teasing and whatnot, so you become very sad, and you're slapped with a label from these bullies, so you take that label on, you believe these lies, and then you get labeled as depressed, and then that's just a perpetual. What do you think about that?
I think you're absolutely right, Doug. I think, and I'm so glad that you touched on the topic. So labeling and bullying, and then immediately being pushed into an equation where the outcome is depression, is generally and sometimes what really happens. But what we need to do is we need to train, and we need to support not only our children, but our adolescents, and even as adults, each other. You can be bullied at 5 and you can be bullied at 55, right? You can experience peer pressure at 14 and then again even in a marriage with your wife or with your husband or with your partner.
Yeah.
Right? It's a matter of understanding when someone is trying to label you, right? And saying, no, stop. Not right now. I can't handle it. It's too loud. There's too much going on. I can't function right now, or I'm overwhelmed. These are things that corporately or that medically, as physicians, we tell patients and clients that we want to hear. If you're stressed at work, say, I think it's time for me to take a vacation. If somebody is, and I know you own your own business, if somebody is overwhelming you as a business owner, you need to step up and say, too much right now. If somebody from a relationship perspective is overstressing you or making you do something you don't want to do, we have to be able to respond to that individual and say no. Your lack of saying no and your lack of saying, oh, just give me more, bring it, that will help to increase your level of depression or sadness because we can't handle everything, right?
That's the problem, I think. That it's such a dog-eat-dog world. Everyone's on the go. They don't take time to introspect and to really see what's going on with their own lives.
Absolutely.
And
take a vacation.
Take a step back.
Take a step back.
Breathe.
Take a breather. I did hear Alan say, your mother said, go dig some holes. And there's that old analogy of the fact that, an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Yes.
Which I completely disagree with. And I feel
So do
like
I.
that, yeah, and I
But
feel
digging
like...
the holes or the
No,
animals, man?
although I do actually, I think your mom actually was on something with digging the holes, because if you go outside into the yard and you start working in nature, perhaps you can start releasing what is in your head. And it's not about, for me, occupying your mind with something else. I feel like our brains are over-occupied all the time anyways. If you walk down the street, people are so caught up in their phones.
phone.
Everyone's so occupied. There's accidents happening everywhere. I think that part of the problem is that we need time to quiet the brain,
Absolutely.
to shut it down. And what I'm getting at is meditation. Like, take a minute and literally take your brain out of the equation.
But how about
Sit back.
Laughter,
exactly.
medication. These
I
are
think it's
things
the
that they
best thing.
use in hospitals and that they use in clinics to help cure people.
We're not gonna we're not gonna get depressed because
We're not gonna get
makes us
depressed,
laugh all
no.
the time.
No, but one of my favorite theorists and authors and someone who I consider a mentor, Robin Sharma, his philosophy around meditation following Deepak Chopra,
I love.
you need to take time to regress. Silence. Take the time to understand your surroundings. You'll have more patience throughout the day. You'll be calmer. You'll be able to remember things. We'll have to write less lists, but take time to know yourself, as you were saying with your friend. Take the time to understand who you are, and then you'll understand where you're going. I'm pro meditation.
Huge. Yay.
Huge.
Love it. Agreed.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So guys, listen, Dr. Duncan, it was absolutely amazing having you on the show here, helping us all out. Great topic. Tough topic to talk about at times, guys, you know. It's tough. But you know what? Listen, we'll be right back with Peter Sabapathy, our cook for the day. We'll see you shortly.
Thank you.
We're back here with a good friend of mine, Peter Sabapathy, who's like a backyard chef, which is awesome. Peter was actually on Global Live back in the day, correct, Peter?
Yeah, This Morning Live, Global AM.
Good stuff. So what's on the recipe for us today?
Today I'm doing one of my favorites. This is a staple of actually ours when I was growing up. It's a Sri Lankan chicken curry. So this is traditional in our household. Sri Lankan chicken curry is a bit different than Indian chicken curry. I think you'll notice when I do the ingredients, you'll see that there's not a lot of wet ingredients here on the table. What we do have is a lot of dry ingredients, and there's some oil and stuff. But I find once you get to the end of the cooking, you'll see that it's not as creamy and as thick as an Indian curry. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I kind of focus on the Sri Lankan side. And plus, I'm Sri Lankan, so it's only natural.
So this is what your mom would make?
Yeah, this is something we'd eat probably once a week, minimum twice a week if there's leftovers, obviously. So it's something that I always wanted to learn. So I'm happy that I actually did learn it, and I'm happy to share it with everybody here.
And it's a quick meal to put together for like if you're having a date over or something like that.
Yeah, depending on the date and how open she is to ethnic cuisine. But I find in Toronto that's not a problem. So yeah, everybody's open to it. It's a good, quick meal. I think once you have all the ingredients, which is the trickiest part, you can actually throw this together in about 40 minutes. You can see here how fast we're going to be able to put this together.
It smells great.
Yeah, the ingredients alone from just me standing here, they're awesome. So
Yeah.
let's get into it, Peter.
So let's get into it.
Yeah.
So right now I brought you guys something special. This is Sri Lankan curry powder. So what separates this, it's a custom grind. My aunt brought this back from Sri Lanka, so I was very grateful for that.
Awesome.
I brought this little kit to show you just the amount of spices and different spices that actually go into a curry powder. So when people think curry powder, they think it's actually one spice. This is actually a curry leaf. So curry leaves are going to go into this ingredient, but this is just one spice. A curry powder from Sri Lanka consists of, could be 5, 6, 10 different spices blended together. So that would be the difference. So basically what we're going to do is take about 1.5 tablespoons of our Sri Lankan curry powder, and we're going to put that into our chicken, give that a bit of a mix.
And this is pretty spicy, is it, Peter?
It's pretty, I'd say, on the medium scale. So I know, Alan, you can eat a lot of spicy food. You like your Scotch bonnet peppers.
I'm the wimp, so
Oh,
that's
yeah?
going to be my high.
I'm sure you can have the arrabbiata pasta once in a while.
I can handle spice. I just sweat. I sweat like I totally.
Well, then we're
sweat.
going to watch
So,
you
yeah,
sweat a
spice.
little, Derek.
Yeah,
That's always good.
it's a glow.
We got paper towels, don't worry.
Doing it.
So,
Okay.
so this is, this stove is about a medium-high heat you want to start with. We're going to put in about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil. You guys can use what you prefer, but again, it's one of the healthier oils. And I know this is a men's 101 show. We're going to throw in about 1 onion that's been finely diced. Give that a little bit of a stir. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask while we're cooking.
So you just sweat them a bit, right?
Yeah, we're going to sweat the onions a bit with the garlic. That's about 2 cloves of garlic that we're going to throw in there now.
Nice. Smells
We're going to
good.
throw in the curry
Yeah.
leaves. Now, this is something that not everybody knows exists. Sally, you can take a smell of that. So that's
Oh, wow.
actually a curry leaf. So this is what it looks like. Really nice aroma. You use it in some milder curries.
And you leave it, you never take it out.
No, you leave it, you can eat it. It's edible. So you can get that
Derek's
nice
falling
aroma
in love
going.
in the corner of the
Delicious.
food.
So this is fennel seed. So cumin seed, fennel seed, interchangeable. Throw that in there. I know Italians use that in some of their cooking. Sausages, it's always nice.
I love fennel seed.
And cookies.
And cookies, eh?
Yep.
So, and this
Yes.
is fenugreek, another spice. And we're going to throw that in there, and then we're going to give that a little bit of a stir, and let all these kind of come together a little bit.
How's the aroma over there, boys?
It's so good, and it's just wafting directly
I'm missing everything. I'm getting
Well,
into my face.
I'm happy you guys are at the end of the episode, because I know your suits are going to need a good dry cleaning after this.
Don't worry,
That's
don't worry,
fine.
I'll give you my card.
That's right.
Oh, that's right, I forgot about that.
That's right. We're good.
So once you get your onions and your garlic about translucent, so you want to, I don't know if you guys can get in on that, you can see that these are kind of sweating, coming together nicely. Give that another bit of a stir. Then we add your chicken. So this is basically about 5 chicken legs. Now I call my butcher ahead, and I ask him to cut them up curry style. So they know what that is, and most butchers in the GTA, to be honest with you, they'll be happy to cut up your chicken curry style. So what it is only is basically taking the leg, and they'll split the leg into 2 pieces, and they'll split the thigh into 2 pieces. So,
So this wouldn't work with chicken breast?
listen, it's a great question. Chicken breast for this recipe, you nailed it on the head. It does come out a little dry because there's not a lot of cream, you'll see. What I would suggest, and what I've done for you guys, because I know it's a bit of a health-conscious show, is I've used chicken thighs for the one that I prepared to serve.
So
So
you want that bone in for flavor, right?
100%.
Right, okay.
So you'll see it anytime you look on YouTube and you see some recipes for either Caribbean style curry chicken or Indian style, Jamaican style, whatever it is, always bone in. Always bone in. That's because bone, there's flavor, fat, there's flavor. And it allows you to stew the chicken a little longer, right? The thing with boneless, with chicken breasts and with chicken thighs is the longer you leave it, the more it's going to dry out.
Right.
Whereas bone is a bit more forgiving. So once you got the chicken brown, you can take a look at that. And that's really kind of what you're looking for. Now we're just going to throw in, I'm going to throw in a couple of chilies. Now this is an optional, and this is just for Alan because I know how much he likes the spicy. And for Derek, we want to see him sweat.
I'm excited. Yay.
And we're also going to throw in about a cup of water now. So it's the last little piece.
Just a quick question. Can you substitute the chicken for another meat?
Oh, 100%. So you can do a beef curry, a pork curry, all different kinds of curries. Difference being with those types of curries, you'd probably want to let them simmer a bit longer, right, and let them really kind of absorb the flavor. And also, you want to soften up the meat. So if you're using a beef, you really want it to be tender.
Right.
You know, this curry comes together quick, and that's why we like it for the weeknight meal, because like literally 45 minutes, the curry should be ready.
It was so quick and easy putting it together. And
Yeah,
it just needs to
It's
cook.
an easy meal for some guy that's home and coming in and just quick throw it
100%.
on.
So that's why I like to make it during the week. As long as you have your ingredients ready, you're good to go.
That smells so good.
So I'm going to cover this. You let that sit for about 20, 25 minutes. Watch it. The last steps that you'll do before you finish it is just basically take half a lime, squeeze that in there, and then you can add sour cream to taste. So if you don't want it too spicy, but you got this Sri Lankan curry powder and it's a little too spicy for you, you can cut that a little bit with sour cream. More sour cream, less spicy, obviously.
A minute or so left, Pete. So where are we at?
So we're going to plate up. So here we got some chicken curry that I cooked a little earlier for Al.
Oh.
We're going to just give that a little bit of a pull for you guys. You can see that there. I'm going to serve that on your plate, and everybody can try a little bit really quickly. Thank you.
Oh,
Well, this
yeah.
one's been sitting a while, Pete, so it should be definitely way out a lot of flavor.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But again, this one is chicken thighs, so you'll get a lot of flavor. Chicken thighs also will not dry out like chicken breasts.
So away you go, Derek. Dig in.
So I'm going to
buddy.
give this over here to you guys to try.
Okay.
I don't know if
Perfect.
that's a good spot for
Thank
it.
you. Anywhere is
And a
fine.
fork
one
right
right here.
here. And there's
Awesome.
another fork over there.
Thank you very much.
By all means, dig in. Al?
Al, sorry, you're going
I
to watch
wanna
right
see
now.
what happened first. You know me, I like my spice, Pete. So
Is
I
this,
wanna see-
is this one really
Not
spicy?
Not spicy.
No? Okay, good.
Not spicy?
No, you guys.
So I won't sweat.
I think after the burpees, you guys should already be sweating.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's good. That's, no,
So could you make this, Tony? Do you
it's starting to
think
kick up there.
you could make this, Tony, if you had the time?
Sure.
It's pretty simple.
If I had the time.
If you had to see that's the time.
I'm going back in.
But this
There
one,
you go.
this is also good reheated. So
Yeah, that's what I
you know,
really like about it too. Is it really lends itself, the flavor really develops overnight. So the next day when you reheat it, and actually, to my mind, it actually tastes a little bit better the next day.
I'm hoping not to have to cook this tonight. I'm hoping to just take it.
You're gonna have a lot left over, so I'm sure everybody's gonna get some.
We'll be right back after the break with our musical guest, Derek Falls. Listen, Peter, absolutely amazing. Thank you, and I'm going to get
Thanks very
some
much.
later
Thank
on.
you.
We'll
That's
see
really
you
good,
after
dude.
the break.
Yeah, it
Thanks.
is really good.
and it's
Great.
not too spicy.
Welcome back. Wow, that was a nice piece of grub there, wasn't it, guys?
Yummy.
Yummy. Listen, Derek Falls. How you doing, Derek?
Good, you, Alan.
Our
Thank you.
musician for the evening. Great. Listen, I know Derek from back in the day. We worked together on a project of mine back in the day. So I got him here. I know he's a great singer and a great recording artist. Some information, Derek. Started singing when you were 13. I didn't know that. Eh? Young
Yep,
age?
way back then, yeah.
With his dad, the legend Thomas Falls.
Yep, Tommy Falls. Yeah, he's played everywhere in Montreal. He's played with a lot of the Motown bands and the old place called Esquire Show Bar Rockhead at Paradise. So that's where all the cats used to hang out, and the music was good.
So that's in your genes, in the blood, eh?
Yep.
Nothing but talent.
Is that where your inspiration comes from?
Yeah, inspiration from my father.
Yeah.
Yeah, always incorporating the music in the house.
So is your style same? Motown?
I branched off a little more. I started with the Motown, a lot of the rock and roll, Chuck Berry's. That's how I started playing my guitar.
Chuck Berry.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of influence changed. So some Carlos Santana's, a lot of the old blues.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, from reggae to a mix of everything. You know?
So you're working on your new album, and it should be out September 2016. That's correct?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's called
All is forgiven.
All is Forgiven.
Yeah.
All is Forgiven. You want to give us some information into that, or is there anything going on in the world that made you something like that, or is it?
Yeah, basically, you know, we all go through relationship things in life, you know, transitions. So I think a lot of the songs came out were inspired by some of my
Past
you know,
endeavors.
Past endeavors.
It seems to be the common trait among really great artists that they come out with they break into that.
Yeah.
They're struggling to get there, and then they hit that. Something happens in their life, and all of a sudden, it's just pure, beautiful music that comes out.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on with yourself too, Derek. Yeah.
Yes.
So most of your inspiration comes from clearly your personal life.
Yeah, my personal life, and I think a lot of what my dad has given to me since young, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you were telling us earlier now that your daughter's following your footsteps as well.
Yeah, my daughter's, she's something else. So, see, it's funny, a generation, my father used to play and sing, but he never wrote, you know. So I started writing at a young age, and then I did an album with my father called Father and Son. And
Sorry, writing lyrics and music, or both? Or?
Both, yeah,
Okay,
both. And so my father never wrote anything. So I got him, I forced him to write two lyrics, basically two lines in each song.
Okay.
They belong to him.
Nice.
And incorporating his own guitar licks, so he's got his own. Those are his. They belong to him.
Part of the song is strictly his.
Yeah.
And your daughter's now following in the footsteps.
And
Is that what's happening?
Yes, and my daughter, she opened up for Tory Lanez, who's here in Toronto, who's is doing really well, and she opened up at the Corona in Montreal for them.
Oh, really?
So she's working with them on a EP. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
So
Is
it's
she-
definitely in the genes, eh?
In the jeans.
Yep.
Yep.
She writes as well, like you do?
Yeah, she actually writes as well as that took her to another level. She's just all around great.
Awesome.
Yep.
Where can we see her too? And are we going to see a collaboration with you and her? And will we see the three generations?
Yes, we
nice.
will. That's for sure. And, I've actually had her up on stage with me a few weeks ago in Laval in Montreal, a place where I perform, and she got up and sang the song, and I'll be singing In This Life.
Cool,
So,
cool, awesome. So, listen, Derek, we're going to see you perform very shortly. Looking forward. I want to thank all my guests today. Derek, myself, Peter Sabapathy, our in-house cook, and Dr. Alan Duggan for an amazing topic on men's mental health and depression and stuff. And my panel. Can't thank my panel. See you guys in a bit with Derek.
Thank you. Come on. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Hey, have you ever been a victim of an abusive kind of system, as the one we live in today? Have you ever felt the pressure of being under the weather, of trying to succeed today, this life? Well, I can tell you how to shift it away by taking off to another place, to take your stress away. And if they ask you any questions about what I'm doing, just nod your head and say, na 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 Some say I must be crazy for the type of life that I'm living, but that's just the way that I am. I'm happy that way, 'cause I don't do a 9 to 5. Some wonder how I survive. There's just no words that I can describe. No, 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 no. I let the angels guide my way through the music that I play. Oh, every day, yeah. And if someone tells me what I'm doing, they say it ain't right, I just turn to them and say, say, I say, na 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 say